What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Dear Miss Fantasy Show with me, your host, Tara Roberts. This is the official mailbag show for Player Profiler. It is Wednesday, December. Oh my gosh, it's December 3rd. And I am live taking your questions. Drop them in the chat. We're going to talk rankings. We're going to talk, obviously, start-sit questions are the most critical thing right now. So we're going to talk that. There's a lot for us to debate. I mean, this is it in terms of anyone that is on the bubble of maybe being able to get in or maybe not being able to get in, or perhaps you are on the cusp of a number one seed. You could lose it. Maybe last week was a bummer for you, but we are locking in because this is it right here. This is it, people. Week 14. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Welcome to the chat. I see all of you in there. Drop your questions. What's up, Stephen King? What's up, Easy E? What's up, C Mass? Hello, Henry Odom. I'll get to your super chat in 1 second. Hello, Flock Nation, and Jeff Rogers and Cornelius Woodard, and Jeff Higgs. What's up, guys? I thought we might go ahead and get started if I can get my files loaded here. Go ahead right off the bat and do some rankings. I got a new computer, and then I had a cable disappear suspiciously for me to be able to utilize my new computer. So I'm back to my regular computer here, which is fine. It's fine. It's okay. I mean, it's not as good as the new one, but we'll live. Let's go ahead and pull up some rankings here. Yay! And as always, I have to remember to take down my banner for a second so you guys can see the full rankings here. We are starting off at quarterback. Pretty basic at the top. But, the top honestly has more debates than you would think, especially when I get start-sit questions, because I've already done one live show on the Fantasy Pros Instagram yesterday. And quarterback start-sits are getting a little bit more, they're getting a little suspicious this week because, as you guys can see, we're super thin at quarterback. And a lot of our top quarterbacks have been underwhelming and underperforming. Josh Allen frustrating us last week, hoping for a bounce back here against Cincinnati, which is an interesting one because Cincinnati's defense is vulnerable, but they do tend to be more vulnerable to the tight end position. So we need to know if we have Dalton Kincaid. And that will obviously affect our trust level with Josh Allen there. After that, Dak Prescott, who's apparently just matchup proof at this point, wheeling and dealing. I mean, we talked about the fact that, when you're throwing to CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, it's like super easy to play quarterback. I feel like I could get out there and throw to them. I'm certain that I could. No, I couldn't. Who are we kidding? But seriously, though, Dak Prescott out there throwing to the Avengers plus there. So, and a good matchup against Detroit, too, allowing a lot of pass volume there. Matt Stafford, as always, very reliable there with his love for Devontae Adams in the red zone. Then we have Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow coming in at top 5 here. Not an ideal matchup for Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow here, but again, they provide a certain level of stability here. Joe looked very good in his first game back there. In what was a fairly difficult match, middle of the road, Baltimore's defense has pulled itself together fairly well since the early season debacles there. So I consider that a fairly decently difficult-ish matchup, average, slightly above average there. So it was good to see him back in form. And without T. Higgins, we still got to see about T. But yeah, we got Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow after that. Jared Goff, up and down, very matchup dependent there for him. And this is a matchup that technically speaking can, go either way, but it is pass friendly there. Patrick Mahomes after that, Jacoby Brissett in the permanent top 12 here. Not an ideal matchup with the LA Rams. Don't care. Quite frankly, don't care about the matchup. The LA Rams, as we saw last week, as they got taken advantage of by sweet little Bryce Young there. The LA Rams defense is spectacular, right? Don't get me wrong. Amazing talent. You rank them towards the top every single week there, but they are vulnerable to volume at the quarterback position. Purely because of the fact that, again, when you've got Matt Stafford throwing on the opposite side, you have to chase points there. We'll have to monitor the status for Marvin Harrison Jr. there. But regardless, we're rolling with Jacoby Brissett in the top 12. And that also opens up the door, by the way, people, for Greg Dortch time. We could be welcoming Greg Dortch back. We'll get high volume Michael Wilson back. Yay. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, and then very reliable flex option there in Greg Dortch. And the two starts that Greg Dortch had without Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 receptions in each, minimum of 50 yards, a touchdown in each. Very solid, very solid. You can't ask for more than that out of your flex position there. So he will be back on the table. Then we have Jordan Love. He looks, Chicago was a good matchup. He looks good in good matchups. So as long as you've got a nice matchup there, we can rely on Jordan Love. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson tumbling back, unfortunately, in the rankings there. The questions, we get more questions about just in general, just more questions about Lamar Jackson and what we do about him. How can we trust starting him? I mean, what do you do? It's a good matchup against Pittsburgh. It is. But he's had good matchups since his return, and he has not been able to do anything with it. He does not look like himself. So yeah, when you're looking at, do I start Lamar Jackson or Jacoby Brissett, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, things start to tilt and you say, hey, if I need stability, I probably need to look at one of those guys, unfortunately. But again, we talk about Trevor Lawrence rounding out, coming into the top 12. He hasn't been spectacular from a quarterback perspective, but he's getting it done-ish, right? The team is doing well. He throws touchdowns. He runs. So he's got that little rushing upside there. So it's really helping him out from a fantasy perspective. So he's a nice little streaming option there this week. Then we got Bo Nix, good matchup. Underwhelming performances for Bo Nix. Yeah, we got a bounce back from Cortland Sutton last week. But Bo Nix continues to underwhelm there, but it is a good matchup. Then you got Daniel Jones, who unfortunately clearly cannot run. I hate that for him. Obviously playing through a pretty, serious injury that does hamper him there. So he is a little bit riskier of a flex option. Marcus Mariota, I have grown to trust. I'm starting Marcus Mariota in a super flex league where I have to win this week. And I have no Drake May. Oh, gosh. Week 14 buys should be illegal at this point. I pretty much think that we all agree on that. But, yeah, Marcus Mariota coming up there in streaming options. Great performance last week against Denver. He's got the rushing upside. And if he's got this connection now forming with Terry McLaurin, and Terry, apparently the time off has healed all wounds. He looked fantastic. He was not in my starting lineup last week. It would have made a difference on this particular team where I'm starting Marcus Mariota. So I will have the Marcus Mariota, Terry McLaurin stack on a team this week that needs to get into the playoffs. That'll be fun. And a good matchup against Minnesota, though. Then we've got Sam Darnold off of the dud revenge game last week. They took advantage of him. They knew him well. Then Caleb Williams, Tyrod Taylor, excellent streaming option. Tua, another streaming option this week. Jets defense has struggled, quite frankly. Then you get into the shaky area of Tyler Shuck in a good matchup. CJ Stroud in a terrible matchup. That's why he's further back there. Justin Herbert, obviously, the hand issue is the reason that he is back there. And also, he has struggled, unfortunately, with the offensive line injuries. I didn't want to be right about that one because I roster him, in a couple of places. But unfortunately, the offensive line situation there just makes it really difficult for him. Terrible matchup against Philadelphia. Defense has been a little bit inconsistent, but I suspect that defensive line will just create an immense amount of havoc, unfortunately, for Justin Herbert if he does play. And that's a Monday night game, so we might not have confirmation on Sunday. And we've also got Thursday night quarterbacks as well. So let's say you've got a Jared Goff and you're sitting here between Jared Goff and Justin Herbert. Play your Jared Goff. That's not even a question right there. You got to, more than likely, you're going to need to start someone other than Justin Herbert this week. Then Aaron Rodgers also dealing with a hand injury. And then Shedeur Sanders coming into the top 24 there with Deshaun Watson being designated to return from IR. The Browns are a mess. Off the cup here because, it's my podcast. I can do what I want. The conspiracy theorist in me believes that they are activating him as retaliation to Dylan Gabriel's fiance being a wee bit inappropriate in her words on social media. I am certain that is not a fantastic thing. Okay, let's jump here into, but again, here's the quarterback rankings. We'll go through everything. And then also we will, let's see. And we'll also go through the questions here. And I see my super chats aren't working very well. That's so weird. I can see them, but they're not highlighted. That's strange. All right. That's okay. We'll get going there. Henry Odom, thank you for the super chat. so much there. Thoughts on Evans and how comfortable we should feel over Justin Jefferson, JMO, Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of the season. And should I get Strange? I have Bowers, but his schedule is brutal. Ugh. I think that it's not the worst thing in the world to roster Strange as a backup option. On a week-to-week basis, I am still probably going to roll out Brock Bowers. Vegas is awful. Geno is awful. And there's nothing they can do about that, unfortunately. Logic would say that you have to continue to push aggressive volume to Brock Bowers because that is the only realistic path forward there for you. And the schedule is not friendly, but from a tight end perspective, it'll do. I mean, he can do well against Denver. Philadelphia is a bad matchup for tight ends. Houston, he can do well-ish against them. And the Giants are ironically not a good matchup for tight ends, but I think that probably has less to do about them being strong against tight ends and more to do about the fact that other positions, wide receivers and running backs just kind of roll all over them. And then, week 18, Kansas City, we don't care about that. But it's a brutal schedule. But just to be safe, it would be a good idea to go ahead and roster him. They're getting close in rankings. Obviously, I'll bring up the tight end rankings here in a second, but spoiler alert, Brenton Strange is my tight end 5 of the week. And Fantasy Pros consensus has him as tight end 6. So most people are very much so in on trusting him here. So it's worth a stash, but we're still going to start. I would still tell you to start Bowers there on a week-to-week basis. But the thoughts on Evan and how comfortable we should feel over Justin Jefferson, JMO, Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of season. So 100% over Justin Jefferson. I'm going to drop a video that talks about Addison and Jefferson tomorrow on my YouTube channel. It's interesting. If we get McCarthy back this week, matchup is not that terrible. At least, targets have been going to Justin Jefferson, but still at the end of the day, there's no ceiling there. It's just a terrible floor play on a week-to-week basis there. And it looks like we're getting McCarthy back. Thank goodness. I don't think we can go through another week of Brosmer. That was painful to watch. Shocking, disturbingly painful there. But Mike Evans, I would absolutely prefer to roster him over Jefferson rest of season there. It's going to be crowded, unfortunately, right? Because Godwin came back looking solid last week in his second start since returning from injury. Emeka Egbuka is obviously very talented, and we've seen him thrive opposite of Mike Evans. I will say, the thing about Mike Evans and the way that Emeka Egbuka outperformed him earlier in the season was, I think that had a lot to do with the type of matchups that they face. I'm going to pull it up here real quick, just to kind of run through the list. So they played team. So it was a bum deal that Mike Evans got, unfortunately, because he is the wide receiver 1. He naturally gets the lockdown corners, and his lineup for the first several games of the season was Atlanta. So he got AJ Terrell. Houston, so he got Derek Stingley. The Jets, so he got Sauce Gardner. Then he got Philadelphia, right? And, their secondary has obviously, just in general, all strong options there. And then Seattle. This was really, really just a bum deal, if you will, unfortunately, for him earlier in the season. So it makes sense. Those are often matchups where the wide receiver 1, the traditional wide receiver 1, is being shadowed by a lockdown corner. And it's not surprising when the wide receiver 2 does better here. So when we're looking at the rest of season schedule here, which I just closed out, unfortunately, let me open it back up. So we're looking at the rest of season schedule: New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina, Miami. Obviously, Carolina does have J.C. Horn, and then Atlanta, again, we just talked about with A.J. Terrell. So it's kind of 50-50 there in terms of matchups that should be favorable for Mike Evans and a little bit more difficult for him. He can still produce. He just might be outproduced by his counterparts, but his underwhelming performance is still probably going to be better than Justin Jefferson. So I put him over Justin Jefferson fairly easily there, as crazy as that sounds. JMO, I think they will be somewhat on par. Obviously, Sam Laporta being out has been a big boost for JMO, although the thing that we do know is that his floor is occasionally extremely low for no rhyme or reason. And Mike Evans typically doesn't have that problem. He's going to get you a little bit of something, right? So probably Evans over JMO just a smidge. We still need to figure out if we're getting Amon-Ra St. Brown this week, but we're talking rest of season here, right? Because we don't expect to get Evans back this week. And then between Marvin Harrison Jr., it is close, but I think I lean Marvin Harrison Jr. over Evans for the fact that Jacoby Brissett is dealing volume there. So from that perspective, I would just rather go with the pure volume play there with Marvin Harrison Jr. The only issue I think is that there is with Marvin Harrison Jr., who I don't think I have in my rankings this week. No, I don't have him in my rankings this week because I'm not ranking him based off injury. There's only one real issue for Marvin Harrison Jr., and that would be in week 15 there. But there is the caveat, right, of whether or not he is able to play. So if we come around to Friday and Marvin Harrison Jr. Has not practiced at all, then I would probably tilt towards Mike Evans just because we've got Marvin Harrison Jr. on a team that is not playing for anything. So from that perspective, if it's a serious-ish injury, a multi-week injury, we might not see him for rest of season, but we need a little bit more information on that. Thank you for the super chat. That was a fun one. I like that. Let's see here. Super chat from Shorty. Can't decide if I should roster Sean Tucker as can't decide if I should roster Sean Tucker as Bucky Irving's owner, as the Bucky Irving owner, or if the cost is too high of dropping either Bashal Tootin, Trey Benson, or Hubbard. Oh, yeah, that one is rough. Bucky looked fine in the first game back. I would lean towards rostering one of the other guys, quite frankly. I mean, it is good, right, to have your handcuff there. And we do know that he is, theoretically the better handcuff compared to Rachaad White. But the only issue is that it's still a split backfield, so does remain very matchup dependent there. If Bucky Irving were to go down, it would still be a split backfield between Tucker and Rachaad White. So yeah, I think I would lean towards you just shooting for the upside and going with Hubbard or Tootin. I lean towards Hubbard. Yeah, I lean towards Hubbard. I would not have said that several weeks ago, but to Carolina's credit, they did say hot hand, right? And technically speaking, Rico Dowdle's hand has gotten cold. Chuba looked good. So yeah, and they have affinity. They've got a contract. Now, granted, it's not, they can get out of the contract. It's not a major issue. But when you look at it, technically speaking, Chuba is theoretic, unless they turn around and draft a running back in the draft or something like that. But Jonathan Brooks probably not going to be the future there, unfortunately, with the serious injuries that he's gone through. So their investment there is in Chuba. So I'm not shocked that they're using the hot hand and willing to tilt back towards him. Io, thank you for the super chat there. And it's okay if your question was long, no problem there. From Io 2004, a must-win game to make the playoffs. Pick one flex, Brian Thomas or Adonai Mitchell. And then one running back between Monty, Tootin, Pirine, Ty Johnson, Vidal, if Hampton plays, and then between Ferguson and Juwan Johnson. So tight end's the easiest one. We're going Ferguson on that one over Juwan Johnson. Just because, again, floor has been steady-ish, not last week, but steady-ish for Johnson, but I'd at least shoot for the higher upside there with Ferguson. And then between Brian Thomas and Adonai Mitchell, I do think I still lean towards Brian Thomas on that one. AD Mitchell's performance was fantastic, but on that one, I am mildly convinced that it is was very matchup related there. So I hesitate just a bit because that performance was amazing, but the previous two performances, he was terrible and John Mechie was fantastic. So yay, the target share is definitely between the two of them, but I don't know if we can ultimately trust that level of volume there. But it's tough because obviously Brian Thomas Jr. is just incredibly frustrating, right? But it does not look like we're getting Parker Washington this week, so at least that narrows things down a little bit. Brian Thomas Jr. has to step up. I do think Jacoby Myers is the safer play over Brian Thomas Jr., but I can still flex him over AD Mitchell there. And then with Monty, Tootin, Pirine, Ty Johnson, and Vidal if Hampton plays. The Vidal if Hampton plays is low-key tempting just because of Harbaugh coming out and saying, speaking very positively of him. But I would still lean towards Monty on that one. It seems like they realize they're not utilizing Monty a ton and they need to get a little bit more intentional with him. Jump into the chat here, guys, as well. Malcolm says BTJ bust of the year. Yeah, sadly on that one. I'm shocked, to be honest. it wasn't as if well, thank goodness, I somehow, I'm not entirely sure because I wasn't fading Brian Thomas Jr. by any means, but I didn't draft Brian Thomas Jr. at all in any of my leagues. I'm trying to think. I think there must have been someone else right next to him that I liked a lot. Maybe it was I'm in JSN or somebody. Interesting. I'm gonna have to think about that. Now I want to go back and look at my drafts and see why I did not draft Brian Thomas Jr. because he looked fantastic. Theoretically, there should have been no, Travis Hunter was not and he was not a threat for the majority of the season, right? So none of us were thinking he was going to be a threat. We knew it was going to be a 50-50 split defense and playing back and forth and whatnot. So it's very, very interesting. The talent that he showed at the end of, especially at the end of last season, is crazy. And I can't blame it on Trevor Lawrence. We can make all the jokes about wishing that Mac Jones was back with Brian Thomas Jr. all we want. But at the end of the day, Trevor is throwing to everybody else, and everybody else is performing. Jacoby Myers is performing. Parker Washington is performing. De'Ami Brown had some performances. But unfortunately, Brian Thomas Jr. is just, I don't know, man. Oh, sad, sad, sad. Question from Alan DeBlitz. Full PPR, 2 running backs. Ooh, need 2 running backs. Marks, Hunt, Jordan Mason, and then 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, Brian Thomas Jr., DJ, Franklin, Lockett, or Strange. I assume that DJ is DJ Moore on that one. Let's do the running backs first because that's kind of straightforward there. Woody Marks has been entirely underwhelming, but it looks a little. Aaron Jones was limited, so that throws a wrench in things. If we were not getting Aaron Jones, it'd be like, okay, we're rolling Jordan Mason for sure. So we do have to play that with a caveat, unfortunately. Thursday night games are Detroit and Dallas. So, okay, you're good to go on that. You don't have to make any early injury decisions on that one. So very straightforward. If Aaron Jones is out, you're playing Aaron Jones and Kareem Hunt. I would play Kareem Hunt over Woody Marks at this point because at least Kareem Hunt can get us touchdowns. And then, unfortunately, you are stuck with Woody Marks and Kareem Hunt if Aaron Jones does play there. Wide receiver and flex there between BTJ. Let me scroll down and see if I commented. I don't know if you commented if that was DJ Moore or not. No, I can't tell. Could DJ be anything other than DJ Moore? Could DJ be anything other? No, it's gotta be DJ Moore. DJ Moore, BTJ, Franklin, Lockett, or Strange. It's interesting. Obviously, Strange has been more productive than a couple of those guys there. I would go with DJ Moore. Super high ceiling, right? Super low floor there, but at least he has a ceiling of some sort. And then Franklin's last week was disappointing there, but I think I might run it back with him and go with DJ Moore and Franklin. So at least you get that nice potential ceiling play. I don't love the matchup, but the matchup actually with Green Bay might be more of an issue for Rome Odunze and a better option for a better opportunity there for DJ Moore, I'm thinking. So I don't mind that at all. So DJ Moore and then Troy Franklin on that one. Yeah. Comments in the chat saying out on Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, Strange is a good option. Strange has had, we'll pull up the tight end rankings here in a second, but Strange has had 2 top 5 performances in a row in half PPR. He's very, very solid. I don't think we're getting Parker Washington, so I think we'll continue to get solid production out of Strange. Just very reliable there. We did that one from Shorty there, didn't we? Yeah, we did. And then Superflex from 6'6", Pace Setter. Thank you so much for the super chat. Jeez, fantasy football, Tara. Thinking Superflex. Super chat there. Need 2 wide receivers and a flex. Sutton, Olave, ETN, McConkey, Waddle. Oh, this is fun. So Olave for sure. We love Olave. Let's see. Where's Olave? I know I'll pull up the rankings in a second here for wide receivers, but Olave is my wide receiver 11 this week. Good matchup against Tampa Bay. And then it's a tough one in terms of between Sutton and McConkey and Waddle. In a perfect world, I would feel good about McConkey, but unfortunately, I don't want to wait to figure out who's at quarterback there. So for you, I would just go ahead and play. Yeah, I would go ahead and play Waddle there. And good matchup. And Tua actually did really good in this matchup beforehand against the New York Jets here. So Olave and Waddle as your wide receivers. And then I would go with Travis Etienne and flex. Last week was something special. I don't know why coaches do that. Travis Etienne had been on a fantastic run, extremely reliable, like a no-brainer. We're playing him. You don't even get him in start-sit questions, right? And then we get the dud from him last week where all of a sudden they decided to go back to Bashal Tutin when absolutely no one started Bashal Tutin. So that was peculiar. But I think we should get a bounce back there from Travis Etienne. So we'll go with Travis Etienne on that one. Another super chat here from... Oh, yeah, I got that one there. Thank you so much. And then another super chat here from Shorty 0010. How do you feel about rolling with the Saints defense for the entire playoffs instead of rostering 2 and playing weekly matchups? I'm not mad at that, to be honest. That is definitely one of the ones where I would feel super comfortable. And, I say this about the defense, Saints defense. I don't ever talk about the Saints defense as a start. But when I talk about people matching up with the Saints defense and they do underwhelming performances, I always say we got to remember the Saints defense is not bad. Obviously, they're not Kellen Moore is an offensive-minded head coach. But defensively, they have a lot of talent and a lot of young talent there. And they've always been well coached in general. So I'm not surprised that they're pulling together. And they did invest, obviously they did invest in some good defensive pieces there as well. So yeah, Saints defense is one that is very interesting rest of season here. Obviously not this week. We're foregoing this week, Tampa Bay, but after that, wheels up for sure. So I don't mind rostering them rest of season because they've been putting it, and not only have they been, limiting people decently there, they've been putting up numbers, right? Carolina, they already played them back in week 10, got 12 points. They played Atlanta, got 11 points. Miami, only 6 points, but I mean, that was pretty decent considering the duds that we had. That was actually a pretty decent performance there. So yeah, that's not a bad one to go with here. Good question. But then let's go back to the chat here, answer a couple, and we're also going to do, we'll also do a little ad break here in a second, or sponsor break here in a second. I'm not supposed to say ad. Yes, from Elia, starting Tampa Bay defense. That's another one that if Tampa Bay is on in waivers ran, so they might have got snatched up a lot. I haven't looked at the updated roster percentages after waivers ran last night. But if Tampa is on waivers, that should be a big priority as well. Rest of season start excellent for them. Excellent, 100%. From Burkham, Diggs or Higgins rest of season? I kind of lead towards Jaden Higgins rest of season. It's funny and it's weird to say that. Stephon Diggs is not a bad option rest of season. He's not. He hasn't dropped back that massively, right? Now, at the end of the day, obviously, great quarterback situation. But this is 2 weeks in a row now that we have seen the return of Kayshon Boutte clearly affects Stephon Diggs. And we're seeing him revert back to the usage that he had earlier in the season where he was very underwhelming, unfortunately. So, yeah, Higgins has been solid. I don't love a lot of the matchups on the schedule there, unfortunately, but it is possible that some of those more difficult defensive matchups, like Kansas City, it's possible that they focus on shadowing and shutting down Nico Collins, and perhaps that opens up some opportunities there for Jaden Higgins. So maybe not a bad situation for him, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. But I would rather at least lean towards the stability of Jaden Higgins. He's had between, I think, 9 and 15 fantasy points over the last 6 games, with the exception of the matchup with Denver, which is understandable there. Been very reliable there. Let's actually real quick here. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors and I'll be right back, guys. I will be right back after this.
Oh, working out so important for your health, for your sex life, for everything, just everything in general. I perform better across the board, podcasting, you name it. The last thing I need to be thinking about is, creating a new workout routine. That's why we have FITBOD. It prevents you from plateauing. It's so customizable, and that I have one super strong shoulder and one kind of weak shoulder. And yet the FITBOD app helps me customize my workouts to improve the strength and the endurance. I go in, my physical therapist is like, I can't believe you're doing this many. And I'm like, I know. Can you believe this? And he's like, yeah, this is crazy. So level up your workouts. They have over 1,000 demonstration videos. And join FITBOD today to get your personalized workout plan, which includes 25% off, or try the app for free for 7 days. Go to fitbod.me/player, fitbod.me/player, FITBOD/player for 25% off for 7 days free.
All right, we are back here. And I also realized that I've just been showing that graphic the entire time here. All right, back to full screen here, and we will switch back to adding back in my banner for branding purposes there. And we'll jump back here to a couple of super chat questions here from IO 2004 Waller or Ferguson, half PPR. I'm still going Ferguson on that one. I like Darren Waller. Last week could have been a better performance from it. Could have been a bigger performance from a fantasy perspective there. And I like him, trust him rest of season. One of my favorite playoff stashes rest of season there. But I am still going to lean towards Ferguson on this one. But I do have Waller in my top 12 this week. Top 12 or we'll show tight end rankings here in a second. Yes, he's in my top 10 this week. In my top 10 this week. That's how crazy tight ends have gotten. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. And then another super chat from DJ Quill 3303. Keep Houston or the Saints defense for the playoffs. I still lean towards Houston's defense on that one. Not a terrible rest of season schedule for the defense there. And they've been just lights out. D'Amico Ryans has those boys just so good. So good. So they can score points. Saints defense is very safe rest of season, but I still lean towards Houston's defense here. Jumping back to the chat here from Unpopular Meta, Tyler Warren or Strange this week. I still have, it's close. I still have Tyler Warren one spot higher than Strange. Actually, you know what? Let's pull up those tight end rankings. This is a good opportunity for it. We'll pull up those tight end rankings and show them on the screen here. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can always feel free to also follow along for the visuals of the rankings as well here. But yeah, tight end rankings here. And let me take down my banner here real quick so you guys can see the entire one. And then we'll move the comment here. But between Tyler Warren and Britton Strange this week, I have Tyler Warren higher by just a tiny smidge. And I love both this week. And, you know, the only issue with Tyler Warren is that he has been a little underwhelming recently. We had the bounce back last week from him, but it still wasn't really where we would like it to be there. I mean, it was 10 fantasy points. That's cool. I do trust him. Like, it's come down from where it was earlier in the season, but I do trust him comparatively to a lot of guys ranked below him. It's extremely close between him and Strange. I could make the argument for Strange, but I lean towards, especially given the matchup against Jacksonville there, I do lean towards Tyler Warren. Let's see here. From Joseph. Oh, and also let's go over the tight end rankings as well here real quick. Pretty basic at the top here. Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce is my tight end 3 this week. He's bounced back, people. It was a terrible start here, but they're leaning on him more. Obviously, Xavier Worthy has been, unfortunately, a little bit of a bust this season. Yeah, it's just been wildly underwhelming. Playing through an injury, so maybe that's the issue. It'll be interesting to see where we rank him next season. But Rashee Rice just dominating so much there, and then obviously Travis Kelce, potentially on his last hoorah here, has come around performing better. And when we're looking at the matchup against Houston, it's not terrible. He could still pull through there, especially because they're going to try and lock down Rashee Rice there. So Travis Kelce could get some more opportunities there. So decent matchup for him. Then we talked about Tyler Warren, Britton Strange. At number 6, I have Jake Ferguson, Kyle Pitts, Juwan Johnson, Darren Waller, Oronde Gadsden. And now I'm real. Did someone ask Strange versus Jake Ferguson earlier? I might have answered that as Jake Ferguson now that I think about it. Maybe they make me challenge. No, I guess, yeah, it's close. But I'm sorry. In my mind, I thought I had Jake Ferguson ranked higher, but I don't. So it would be Britton Strange on that one. But after that, we've got Kyle Pitts, who is hanging on by a thread there just by the sheer force of Drake London not being out. I still don't trust him. But then Jawan Johnson, Darren Waller, Aronde Gadsden falling back in the rankings. Mark Andrews with the new contract. Newly paid Mark Andrews. Thank you, Hakavelli. I said Ferguson earlier. Yeah, flip it to Brenton Strange there. I thought I had Ferguson one spot higher. Yeah, newly paid Mark Andrews. I guess Isaiah Likely hitting the market. That'll be a fun one there. Please, Isaiah Likely, exit and find yourself a nice home where you can be a tight end one, because I was holding on to you in Dynasty and I would like to be able to utilize you in some way, shape, or form. So that'd be a fun one. That at least makes, free agency maybe a little spicy there. And then after that, you guys can't see it, but my number 12 there is Harold Fannin Jr., then Zach Ertz, Colston Loveland, Dalton Kincaid. I'm putting Dalton Kincaid in there in hopes that he's going to play. If he is played and cleared in full on Friday with no issue, I would move him up to tight end 10, right above Aronde Gadsden. But I need them to confirm that he is 100% good to go. It's a great matchup. The only thing that I'm terrified of is that last time Dalton Kincaid came back from an injury, he played a very limited snap count and was wildly unproductive. So I'm just a little bit traumatized from that one. So I want them to confirm that he is A-okay there. So I'm a little bit worried, but it's such a good matchup there. Hate that. Yeah, if he were healthy, if he were cleared as 100% healthy, I would put him absolutely above Kyle Pitts. I'd feel pretty safe putting him above Kyle Pitts. I might still roll with Jake Ferguson and Brenton Strange. And yeah, Dalton Kincaid at tight end 7 is probably the highest that could go there. In ideal world, he gets cleared and there's no issue in a matchup where, Cincinnati has just been continuously very, very kind to opposing tight ends there. But yeah, looking at Dalton Kincaid, the last time it was the game against Carolina. So he got hurt in week 6, did not play against Atlanta in week 6, had a bye week, came back from the bye week, was questionable, did end up playing, played a very limited snap count, and literally had one reception against Carolina. So yeah, I need them to confirm that they will actually have, because Sean McDermott is not trustworthy from a consistent usage standpoint. That is my only issue there. Yeah. So after Dalton Kincaid at number 15, we've got Dallas Goedert, who's just been underwhelming. I hate to move him back in the rankings, but he's been so underwhelming. Dalton Schultz had a nice run, obviously, earlier in the season with CJ Stroud. I'm thinking the emergence of Jaden Higgins is kind of throwing a wrench into the volume that he was seeing earlier there. After that, I can't see what the next name is. After that, it is Isaiah Likely, Evan Ingram, Mason Taylor, AJ Barner, Cade Otton, TJ Hawkinson, Mike Gesicki at number 24. It's just the ugly crew. Yeah, we were so blessed earlier with tight ends, and it's just become just a nasty little mess there, unfortunately. Jumping back to the chat here from Joseph David. Okay, full PPR, flex, pick one, Strange, Tucker, Tesla, Luther Burden, or Dontavian Wicks. Easy one is if Amon-Ra St. Brown is out, we're playing Isaac Tesla. And we'll know here really soon. Amon-Ra is questionable. We'll know tomorrow if he plays or not. If he's out, if he's out and Dan Campbell designed, or, Dan Campbell and the offensive coordinator, whatever. But I'll say Dan Campbell. If Dan Campbell, knowing Dan Campbell and how he is, if he is able to do his entire game plan around the fact that Amon-Ra St. Brown is out, I know that he is going to more heavily involve Isaac Tesla. We know that Tesla is so talented. Like if he was on any other team, like let's say, well, we got to also put him with a quarterback. I was going to say, let's put him on the Raiders, but then, you would have the issue of Geno Smith. If he was on, what's a team? Pittsburgh. That's a good one. If he was on Pittsburgh, I have the utmost confidence that even Aaron Rodgers would trust Isaac Tesla, as picky as he is. Like, Tesla is just very good. I just wish he went to another team where he wasn't stuck 3 deep behind Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jamison Williams. It's just a bum deal, unfortunately. So Amon-Ra being potentially out there would make this a really easy choice for you to go with Isaac Tesla. I trust it. Trust it for sure. I know the volume last week was underwhelming, but again, we're talking about a full week to game plan. Tesla should theoretically be the wide receiver 2 there. And if not, honestly, I would just go ahead and go with Brenton Strange. Again, he's been very solid. You can get 10 fantasy points. Not a major issue there. Trey Tucker obviously has to deal with Geno Smith, Luther Burden. Interesting matchup, right? Because again, when we're looking at this, I just anticipate a bad game from Rome Odunze in terms of Green Bay's secondary locking him down in particular, and maybe that opens things up for everybody else. But at the end of the day, there's just too many mouths to feed, and I do think that they're going to lean heavily on the run too. So decent day, decent top 20 performances probably coming in for DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai there. And then Dontavian Wicks. I do not know if we have. Let's see. Let's check and see if we've got any information on Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed, where you at, buddy? Jaden Reed knows. Jaden Reed, limited again. Okay. So he is limited again. But I feel like my gut was telling me that he was held out of the Thanksgiving game so that they could give him extra time, right? And a full week to prepare to return there. So if Jaden Reed is back, I worry about Dontavian Wicks. So I would just go with Brenton Strange there. So Tesla if Amon-Ra's out, and then Brenton Strange would be your backup plan there. Let's see here. We got some super chats here. From Hakavelli. Thank you so much. Says, thanks, Sarah. You rock. Always solid takes and great insights. We appreciate you. Thank you. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. I wouldn't be here if you guys didn't exist. So thank you. Thank you for always tuning in here and supporting me. I appreciate that. From Aravaji, 2 running back, 1 wide receiver. Two RB, 1. Yeah. 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Jaylen Warren, ETN. Ooh, good question. Jaylen Warren, ETN, RJ Harvey, Kyle Monangai, Amari Hampton, Wilson. Michael Wilson, probably. Terry McLaurin and Devontae Smith there. So 2 running backs. This is a fun one. I lean toward, this is our, okay, so we have not done running back rankings. This is the perfect time to pull up running back rankings. As I realize I've just been sitting here with the tight end rankings the whole time as we've been talking, but let's pull up the running back rankings because this is a fun one here. Running back rankings. All right. This is critical. And I'm going to go off to the side and read from the side here because as again, guys, I can't see anything. All right. Overall RB1 this week, Devon Achane. Have yourself a day against the New York Jets. Then obviously we've got Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor coming in. And I need a big week for Jonathan Taylor personally. Like I need Jonathan Taylor to move me on to the second. And Scott Fishbowl, if you guys don't know about the Scott Fishbowl, well, maybe this off season, I'll see if we can do I've never gotten the opportunity to because I do contract work for other podcasts. So that means that I don't have anything to offer for the Scott Fishbowl charity there. But maybe we can get some Scott Fishbowl spots in the off season here potentially there because it's so much fun, guys. And if any of you are in if you look it up, Scott Fishbowl giant tournament for charity. And if you're in any of the cities that live draft, it's so much fun. I'm in Houston. I did a Houston live draft. We had 4 different leagues drafting at the same time. So 4 leagues, 12 people. So 48 people drafting. We did it at a bar, a really nice bar. It was very, very fun atmosphere. Everybody up there doing live drafts, 4 draft boards up, good atmosphere. 10 out of 10 recommend. 10 out of 10 recommend. And I have the playoffs started last week. So I made it through. We're on round 3 of the playoffs because it's a big tournament. So the playoffs start early. We're on round 3. I made it through and I need Jonathan Taylor to have a big performance. I need Jonathan Taylor this week. Jonathan Taylor pull through. Then Bijan Robinson at RB4, James Cook, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving pushing his way up there. I was shocked, guys. I'm not going to lie. I was shocked he had that level of a performance in the first week back. I thought it was going to be more akin to what Chris Godwin gave us. So color me very surprised on that one. Then we had Breece Hall at number 9. RB10, Derrick Henry, followed by Kyron Williams. Derrick Henry has been feel vindicated on Derrick Henry because I had Derrick Henry as a buy low earlier and was smacked in the face by lots of like, not you guys, but like elsewhere, like on Twitter and whatnot. Lots of, no, Derrick Henry's washed. We will never call Derrick Henry washed. Never. It's something we can't do. We can't do. He is the ageless wonder. And he's been doing very well despite, Lamar Jackson struggles there. Then we have Kyron Williams, Quinshon Judkins. I like Quinshon a lot. It's really tough to get around Quinshon just because of the way that he's being utilized in that offense, the whole Wildcat situation. I mean, it just feels like he's locked in, guaranteed for a top 20 performance, right? Volume is good. He's talented. Rest of season schedule is just fantastic. Great matchup against Tennessee. So yeah, Quinshon, top 12 here. RJ Harvey next. So in your question, RJ Harvey is the first running back we have here. And then it gets very interesting. So we're good on RJ Harvey. We're trusting it. Did we need overtime last week to make it happen? Yes. But we got a good matchup against Vegas. So hopefully Sean Payton does the right thing here. Then we got Saquon Barkley out of our top 12. Sorry, Saquon. Javonte Williams been a little underwhelming-ish. Ashton Genty. I get a lot of questions about Ashton Genty and what to do. We're still like, at the end of the day, he's receiving upside. It's frustrating. I believe they played Denver earlier this season. Actually, let me double check on that. Or am I like making that up? No. I'm not making that up. They played Denver 4 weeks ago. He had 19 carries, 60 yards, 3 receptions, and a touchdown. Finishes RB14. So yeah, Denver's not a good matchup, but he performed well against them earlier. And it makes sense that they leaned into the run because you're going to trust Geno throwing against Denver? No. So yeah, Ashton Genty, Travis Etienne, and then Kyle Monangai. That's the thing. And then Amarian Hampton, Zonovan Knight, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Walker at RB23, and then Woody Marks. And this obviously would adjust if Amarian Hampton were cleared by Friday and we're told he's going to have a full workload, and there is not going to be the contribution of, 1A, 1B with Kamani Vidal. I am mildly concerned about that. And matchup is not ideal. But again, depending on what they tell us on Friday about Amarian Hampton, I could move him up a little bit, but 20 is reasonable right now. Other guys that would move, obviously Jordan Mason, if Aaron Jones was out, would move up in this as well. But other than that, that's pretty much locked in top 24 there. So it is very close between Travis Etienne and Kyle Monangai, and Jalen Warren falling a little bit further back as well. But the one that I would trust for a bounce back here is Travis Etienne. So we're going with RJ Harvey and Travis Etienne in that one. And then Amarian Hampton is the wild card. But again, you got to get clarification in terms of on Friday. We don't want to be messing around with any limitations or anything. You've got so many good running backs there. You might not want to risk it unless we get the 100% A-OK on him. And then your one wide receiver and one flex there. And this one is, again, it's going to be injury dependent here. But for the most part, assuming that Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, your wide receiver is going to be Terry McLaurin, and your flex is going to be Michael Wilson there. If Marvin Harrison Jr. did end up playing, we would go with Terry and Devontae Smith there. But yeah, very straightforward. You got a little injury stuff to deal with, but for the most part, really good options there for you, for sure. So thank you for the super chat. And then super chat from Shorty. Is it crazy to consider playing Dart in the playoffs over May, since the Patriots like to go run heavy when they lead by so much? I don't think it's crazy, especially when, the only problem that we have with Jackson Dart is whether or not he stays on the field, but it's technically worth it to risk it with him. Because if he goes out, hey, he's going out, and it is what it is. But you're rostering both of them, obviously, through the remainder of the season, just in case, right? Because we can't trust his health at this point because of the way that he runs again. I don't know if it is super crazy. On a week-to-week basis, they're both going to be top 12 more than likely here because this rest of season for the Giants is very favorable here. We don't have any major issues here. So they'll be close. I still lean towards May just because, again, I'm going to lean better team, pure talent there. But they can and will lean aggressively on the run. So it does throw a little wrench in there. So you're not crazy. I do still lean towards Drake May, but you're not crazy because Jackson Dart is going to have easy QB1 upside rest of season there. Easy. Moving on to, let's go back to the chat here. You know what? I'm going to remember to remove. And so we can go back full screen here, guys. Perfect. All right. Jumping back to questions here. And then I'm sure at some point we'll pull up. You know what? Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and pull up the wide receiver rankings here because we're nearing the end-ish of the show. We've done tight ends. We've done quarterbacks. We've done running backs. We have not done the wide receivers here. So wide receivers here. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I never thought I would see the day when Jackson Smith and Jigba ruined us for my fantasy. I was shocked. I was stunned. I was in tears. I was not. Well, you know what? It felt, the tears were inside. They were inside. I didn't let them come out on my face. I put on a brave face there, but that one hurt, man. JSN had just been so fantastic. So to have him put on that level of performance was crazy. Then we get Jamar Chase. We get Jamar Chase after that. CeeDee Lamb. Sorry, I laugh every time I see Jamar Chase now. After Spitgate. CeeDee Lamb, Rashee Rice, George, and CeeDee Lamb is there because and this is squabbling, right? But in an ideal world, I would have Rashee higher, but again, Rashee's ranking is affected by the matchup there with Houston. Then we got George Pickens, Devontae Adams. I have ranked Devontae Adams over Puka Nacua. I'm doing it, people. You know what? Matt Stafford loves him. It is what it is. Puka is fantastic, but when they get in the red zone, he's begging for a touchdown, and Matt Stafford and Devontae Adams refuse to let him play. So Devontae Adams over Puka Nacua. I'm squabbling over literally one spot, though. Jameson Williams, again, I am ranking him as if Amon-Ra is not going to play. Obviously, if Amon-Ra played, he would come down. But he would still be a top 20 receiver easy. Honestly, top 15. Top 15 is where he would still be. I would play him. Given the matchup, I do think I would play him over Michael Pittman. Yeah, that's where I would slot him in. And, maybe actually over Devontae Smith. So maybe it would only fall back, and quite frankly, maybe over Ladd McConkey, considering the whole Justin Herbert thing. So quite frankly, he wouldn't roll back that much there. But then we've got Nico Collins, A.J. Brown, resurging A.J. Brown. I'm taking home a championship if A.J. Brown can keep this up. That's all I know. I'm taking home a dynasty championship if A.J. Brown can keep this up. So please, Jalen, make it happen. Chris Olave after that, our boy. Good matchup. Really doing well there with Tyler Shuck at quarterback, surprisingly. Jalen Waddle after that, good matchup. Ladd, Devontae, Michael Pittman, Justin Jefferson. And that's being generous, guys. That wide receiver 16 ranking, that's a seniority ranking. That's a ranking of love. That is not a ranking of confidence. He should be grateful that he was able to be ranked at wide receiver 16. Where does Fantasy Pros consensus have him? Wide receiver 15. I thought people were a little bit higher on him, but I guess it's the matchup that makes it a little bit confusing because Washington has been generous. But man, it's difficult to trust. Terry McLaurin, and the only thing that saves him is that, and honestly, I could flip him and Terry McLaurin, and quite frankly, you know what? I'm going to flip it right now. Consider Terry McLaurin wide receiver 16 and Justin Jefferson wide receiver 17. The only reason that Jefferson does not go further back than that is because when you look at Christian Watson, who is very deserving of that ranking right there, we have, Jaden Reed lurking in the shadows. Then you look at Cortland Sutton. Do you trust that? I'm reading off the rankings for those of you listening on the podcast. 18 is Cortland Sutton. 18 is Christian Watson. 19 is Cortland Sutton. Do we trust him? Is the bounce back real? That's the big question there. Do we trust Bo Nix? It's just a whole bunch of question marks, right? After that, Jacoby Myers, I feel really good about that one. I want to see where he is in Fantasy Pros consensus, because I think, I'm slightly higher, not big time. Consensus has him at wide receiver 23. That's not that big of a difference. Again, we talked about Brian Thomas Jr. and his struggles. And the fact that Jacoby Myers he has a legitimate claim to the wide receiver 1 spot in that offense. So good for him. I'm happy for him getting out of Vegas. Hopefully he can get his money after this season, because he's in a contract year, which is good, because I love that, because spoiler alert, guys, I'm not a fantasy analyst that disappears in the offseason. I love free agency. I love the NFL draft. I love rookies. I love the Senior Bowl. I love the combine. So you guys will have plenty of videos in the off season, and free agency is my jam. I love it with a passion, because predicting landing spots is super fun. And then analyzing the changes to the offenses with changing positions is also super fun. So Jacoby Myers on the market after this. And this is good for him. This is because he took a bum deal. New England did him wrong. Ironically, New England, and I remember this specifically because it was such a bum deal. New England let him walk and essentially gave the same money that Jacoby Myers signed for in Vegas to Juju Smith-Schuster. It was flat out one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. But hey, I guess it worked out for the Patriots because they failed so badly. They ended up with Drake May. So who are they to complain about that? Unfortunately, that means that, Jacoby Myers got stuck in Vegas in a, pretty nasty situation there. But he's obviously now he's got the opportunity, showcasing that all he needs is a semi-competent quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is not, despite my, Claire Clemson allegiance here. He's still not the quarterback of the money that he was paid. But it proves that, Jacoby Myers, all you need is a decent quarterback and he can get it done. And this is honestly the most decent quarterback that he's ever been able to play with, quite frankly. That's crazy. Oh yeah, that is. Oof. Did he? I don't know. I don't know who he got to play with when like he was a rookie. I can't remember that, but might have been Mac Jones. But yeah, this was, he has not played with any fantastic quarterbacks at this point in his career. So him showcasing this with Trevor Lawrence is really a blessing for him. So hopefully he gets his nice, decent contract and gets paid here in free agency, because he should be one of the more interesting names on the market. So yay for him. After that, we've got Emeka Egbuka. So again, this is why Justin Jefferson gets the preferential treatment there in terms of rankings, despite his production being so underwhelming, because once you get outside the top 15, things start to get things start to get very, very shaky in terms of reliability. Even once you get outside the top 12, quite frankly, you get into really risky situations with, Vlad McConkey dealing with the Justin Herbert thing, Devontae Smith being outshined by AJ Brown, Michael Pittman been underwhelming in bad matchups there. Better matchup this week, but still not fantastic because, unfortunately, Daniel Jones is just really struggling right now. So yeah, it just gets very, very shaky. So at wide receiver 21, we got Emeka. 22, we've got Zay Flowers. That again, just goes to speak to, actually that shouldn't be that way. It should be Deebo Samuel over Zay Flowers. My bad on that one. That was optimistic. Zay Flowers should be a little bit further. And I'm a lot lower than Fantasy Bros consensus on him. Fantasy Bros consensus has him as wide receiver 18. I get it given the matchup here, but the man has just been so wildly underwhelming. The best finish that he has had since week 1 has been wide receiver 21. So that's also why I kind of look at Lamar and I'm just kind of like, because you throw into a lot of suspectness there. Zay has just underwhelmed significantly there. After that, we get Michael Wilson. Now, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, Michael Wilson will jump significantly. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, Michael Wilson would jump to wide receiver 14 for me over Devontae Smith, but I need that confirmation there. And then after that, things that you guys don't see here outside of the top 24, I have Isaac Tesla, Khalil Shakir. We talked about Tesla. I would move him up if we do have Amon-Ra out, just like a smidge. Then we got Troy Franklin, Rome Odunze, DK Metcalf, Alec Pierce, Chris Godwin, Brian Thomas Jr., Quentin. the Quinshon Judkins and Quentin Johnston gets me every time. I don't know what it is, but when I read it, I want to read the other one's name. Quentin Johnston, Jaden Higgins, Romeo Dobbs, Xavier Ward, and Jordan Addison. Just, whew, my God, guys. What a weird fantasy season. Our flex options are so shaky. So shaky. All right, let's jump back here to the chats. Let's see here. What we got here? What's the latest chat here from Mr. Nice Guy? Myers played with Brady his rookie year. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Perfect. And Elias says, come to San Francisco, Mr. Myers. It'll be interesting because I think the contract adjustment that Juwan Jennings got was literally just for this year. So he'll be on the market as well, I believe. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see how they handle free agency there with Brandon Ayuk, obviously on his way out. Yeah, Jacoby Myers coming out of left field. Didn't see that there. JTL feels bad about Justin Jefferson. Then you also say, yeah, Devontae over Puka. Dang, we got to go there, man. We got to go there. Devontae has been, this is like, and I thought that I was going to be wrong on this one. But I was really, really worried about Puka Nacua. Not that he would ever be, I knew that he would never be an underwhelming performer, right? But my fear coming into the season for Puka was that Devontae Adams still looks like Devontae Adams. When you're looking at those older 30 plus wide receivers, right? You could see regression. And so I would not draft Cooper Kupp because I could see the regression in Cooper Kupp for multiple years now. But when you look at Devontae Adams, year over year, you've never seen an ounce of regression in him. And it makes sense because of the way he plays, right? He plays very safe. He's rarely injured. Apparently the Taco Bell does him well. Man loves Taco Bell in his house. Apparently the Taco Bell does him very well. I don't know. Ring an endorsement here for doing the body right, apparently, because he is ageless. He is the wide receiver version of Derrick Henry there. There's zero regression on that man. Fantastic. He's just been excellent. Excellent. And the touchdowns, I mean, my God, to get a game without a touchdown for Devontae Adams at this point is crazy. So yeah, poor Puka Nacua can't get the touchdowns there with Devontae just being so selfish. Super chat from Easy E13. Who do you like rest of the season? Ooh, standard. Troy Franklin, Devon Vele, or Adonai Mitchell. So Devon Vele is an ad for me in deeper leagues. Cool. Right. And I don't mind, I do think he's the clear wide receiver 2 there. Target share, in terms of who's truly the second look between him and Juwan Johnson, I think it'll fluctuate on a weekly basis there. And rest of season schedule for Tyler Shuck is good, right? To his credit. So I do think that Vele's production could stick. But in a standard league, it just makes me a little bit nervous there for him. Troy Franklin, I think I'd still lean towards Troy Franklin on that one. And then AD Mitchell, we talked about, I think on a week-to-week basis, it'll bounce back and forth between him and John Mechie. So both viable options there. And again, just depends. I think Tyrod's good for a touchdown. And the good thing is we know those touchdowns aren't going to Jordan Mason. So it's a touchdown going to Mitchell or Mechie. So it makes it less confusing there. So Mitchell is rising up there, but I still lean towards Troy Franklin on that one. Let's see here. From Hakavelli, nervous to give Hampton a run this week. Have him in your dynasty leagues and need him. But Vidal is going to get at least half the work in a game where the pass game will be check downs, or the pass game will be cheeks. Yeah, I feel, and it'll be interesting because at this point we're getting, Justin Herbert day to day, and it's just like, okay, yeah, we'll see. And it sucks that it's a Monday night game. Why does it always have to be a Monday night game? I do fear that it might be a split backfield, although I had that fear with Bucky Irving and he came back full force. So that is the only thing, right? But again, my hope there is that the Chargers are a little bit transparent with us at the end of the week and are clear about whether it is a returning to action and, we're going to use both these guys. We love them. or if he is going to get the full run there. The only concern there, right, is that when we had earlier in the season, before Najee Harris got hurt, it was a committee, and it was a nasty committee. So I fully understand the hesitation there, especially with the fact, like when we were going over the running back rankings, like Hampton can jump if he's confirmed good to go there. But when we're going over the running back rankings, running back is not as destitute as wide receiver is right now once you get outside of that top 12, because you've got options. Now, granted, they can all have really down games, right? Which is natural, right? But on a, comparative basis there, if you're telling me, if you were to say, like, if we're looking at wide receivers to running backs, flex comparison, like direct to rec of guys outside the top 15 at both positions. And if I were comparing a Travis Etienne to a Justin Jefferson, I'm starting a Travis Etienne every single time. Right. So I don't think running back is not as like the fact that we have, but DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, you can start them as like mid-tier, low end RB2s. Like, it's not that bad. Zonovan Knight will have, interesting burn if we get trade. We got to wait on that Trey Benson information as well. So Hampton won't go up that far because, again, we've got some pretty good options, in my opinion, at running back this week. But it is a concern. It is a legitimate concern there. I wish you well, though. I wish you well. It's always painful when you hyper draft one player in your dynasty leagues and you're like, I really need this one to pull through for me. That was me with Kyler Murray before I realized quickly I needed to abandon ship. Like a couple years ago, I was like, let's get out. This is not going to end well. We'll do a few more questions here. From Gary Miles, sit BTJ even if Parker Washington is out. He's still a flex option. It's a low-end flex option, but just for the fact that if Parker Washington, it does look like Parker Washington is going to be out, but if Parker Washington is out, I feel okay with it. Now, if Parker Washington makes a miraculous turnaround and plays, then I have a problem. But if Parker Washington is out, BTJ is a low-end flex option, and I say low-end, right? Thank you, Easy A. Yes, I don't want to miss my shows, but it's okay. It's okay. We can always watch later. From Taz Beats, I have a couple of injuries and CMC on a bye. Wondering if flexing AD Mitchell or wondering if I have flex AD Mitchell or start Kyle Monangai in flex. I would lean towards Monangai. Mitchell's ceiling is obviously super high, but so is Monangai's. And I have, and not I have a feeling. I hate to say I have a feeling in terms of, but there's reason based behind it. Green Bay, and actually, was I going to make a video on this? This is in the video that I'm dropping tomorrow. Yes, this is in the video that I'm dropping tomorrow on Start Sits, talking about Kyle Monangai. And I do, spoiler alert, I do like him this week. Well, you guys saw in the rankings, he's top 20 back for me, so that's not a spoiler alert. Kyle Monangai has been fantastic over the past month and a half here. Since looking at half PPR, since week 9. Now, week 9, DeAndre Swift was out. That was against Cincinnati. Kyle Monangai had 21 fantasy points and was RB3 on the week. But after that, DeAndre Swift came back to his full-time role. So, we would assume, okay, well, that would, put Kyle Monangai out of it. No. They're being very intentional. They like Kyle Monangai at the goal line. And I see Super Unknown saying, yep, he hurt his ankle a little bit. And was, now he's questionable, obviously, with, I think it was a non-participant in Wednesday practice. Wednesday practices and guys turn into questionable. I don't take it seriously until Thursday. If we get to Thursday and he's not practicing, then I will panic a little bit there. But it didn't seem like a major issue. But if it is an issue, obviously, we would move on from him. Well, if he's out, that's the only way. But if he's active, this matchup against Green Bay, I mean, this is 4 weeks in a row where he's had a touchdown. They've got a clear preference for him at the goal line. He's getting the touchdowns that DeAndre Swift is still being successful, right? But the touchdowns are definitely leaning towards Kyle Monangai there. He's been very successful on the ground. And that matchup against Philadelphia, both him and DeAndre Swift absolutely going off there. So I do like Kyle Monangai a lot. And I think that they are going to lean on the run in this matchup. Green Bay is really good across the board. Really good across the board, but they're better against the pass. So if they're picking and choosing what they're going to do, are you going to have Caleb Williams try to, deal with that pass rush, Micah Parsons, and the Green Bay secondary that is drastically improved there? And they also scheme very well. So even if they're not the most talented secondary in the world, they do not have a shutdown corner, right? But they're coached very well there. So they do very well against receivers. But in terms of running backs don't go off against them with the exception of Rico Dowdle. That was the only running back that really just went off in an insane way against them. But that was an anomaly. They tend to be very good at limiting upside for running backs, but they're a bend don't break. So they do allow decent fantasy production for our purposes. So both Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift, despite the matchup, can still have pretty solid days here. So I do like both of them this week. I would start Monangai over AD Mitchell, but Super Unknown makes a good point that we do got to monitor that injury status right there. For sure. We got a lot of guys that are questionable right now. Josh Jacobs is questionable. Bucky Irving is questionable. Kyron Williams is questionable. Calvin Ungai is questionable. Woody Marks is questionable. Woody Marks did return to the game, so that's not an issue. Yeah. Aaron Jones, Trey Benson. We don't really know what is going on here. And I've got a child that is looking at me like he needs something very suspicious. And I ask him not to come in here. He needs to wait till I'm done with my podcast. So, all right. Going back to the comments here. Got a comment from Nadeezy. I know Allen is number one. He was holding his finger up like literally. He is returned. And his brother has showed up to tell him, hey, you can't interrupt. I've trained the oldest one well. From Nadeezy, I know Allen is number one. They're 5 and 8, by the way. I know Allen is number one, but I also have Dak. I'm nervous about Buffalo's offense. Yeah, going to be run heavy. Honestly, you're not wrong for that. Naturally, I have Josh Allen ranked higher. This is interesting because I'm talking about Khalil Shakir in the video tomorrow too. And I did a early prop video on Monday. And the one prop that I did like was Josh Allen's rushing prop. I am kind of scared of his passing prop. Not going to lie there. I looked at it and I was just like, I don't know about that. I'm kind of scared that the pass volume might not be there. So I 100% get it. I think that he'll make up for it on the ground. But Dak has been so incredibly consistent there. So honestly, I don't blame you on that one. If you want to start Dak over Josh Allen, it's not crazy. The matchup is excellent. And again, we talked about the fact that my concern with Allen is that I need to know if Dalton Kincaid is coming back. Because again, this is a matchup that benefits tight ends. So I worry if the tight end, and I guess, they don't throw to Dawson Knox that much and utilize him in that way. Maybe Khalil Shakir could, increase his, usage over the middle kind of, but I don't know, man. I would feel more comfortable with Josh Allen in this matchup if Dalton Kincaid was back. But again, we got to wait and see. So Thursday game, going ahead and starting Thursday games, right? But Thursday game, go ahead and starting Dak. I'm not mad at you if you want to do that for sure. He's been so steady and the matchup is excellent. I know Thursday games often go sideways, right? But man, it is Dallas and Detroit. It is Dallas and Detroit. And Detroit's defense has been so pass friendly. And Dallas's defense, to their credit, they have done very well against the run in terms of trying to turn things around with the, additional personnel. But also, I believe the Cowboys ruled out Trayvon Diggs. I believe I saw that notification coming through, which would obviously make this, and we're going to wrap. If I look it up, I know it's going to freeze up my computer. But I want to say that Trayvon Diggs is out, and I fear that the pass defense is going to struggle. And if it does, I like this for a good back and forth. We might get a really, really nice high volume matchup here. Yeah, I'm not mad at you if you want to go Dak over Josh Allen. He's been more steady over the past 3 games, and he's done so against Philadelphia and Kansas City. You can't ignore that. The man is on fire. The man is on fire. Appreciate all the comments about the kids. Yeah, those young kids, they're wonderful. It was good, but this was a good evening for me. Usually I have to have they'll like, have their dad like, hey, can you like monitor and like, because I'm their mom, right? So they always like default to me. But it was able to, before the show, I was able to get their sheets changed and done, get fed, dinner, shower. So this was a great evening in terms of Tara's efficiency for the evening, as a job fantasy analyst and also a mom. So this was good. Super unknown. Everyone is overreacting about Kyron Williams. He is fine. Don't waste your fab on Blake Corum. I agree on that one. But I do think Blake Corum is an excellent stash. Excellent, because he's one of the high, like if I'm looking at high-end handcuffs, we got Blake Corum, we got Brian Robinson, we got Tyler Algier. I waffle back and forth on Tank Bixby, right? I think Bashal Tutin as well is one that, is a high-end handcuff there. Who else? High-end handcuffs. I'm like off the top of my head now. I'm like blinking on our guys that are like massive priorities there. Honestly, Emmanuel Wilson showed his upside there as well. But that's pretty much maybe Ollie Gordon as well. But he's a handcuff, right? Kyron Williams, the only reason that Blake Corum, and occasionally Blake Corum will get those goal line touches, occasionally, but it's not anything that's regular. And Kyron did leave momentarily with an ankle injury and come back. So that was kind of the issue that happened there for him. He should be fine. He should be fine. He's questionable, but he should be fine because he did return to the game here. But good bench stash, but nothing that we want to start right now. Nothing that we want to start. Let's see here. We'll answer for a few more questions and then we'll head out here. From Jace Diaz. Guy in a battle for a playoff spot. Wow. Dang. Yeah. Guy in a battle for a playoff spot just dropped Chuba, and because he had multiple buys, is it worth using your waiver priority? Yeah, I would do it. Because again, there is no loyalty to either one of these running backs in the Carolina backfield. They're going hot hand, and Chuba has looked hotter. So I'm not shocked that it flipped back there. And obviously, they really like Chuba. Like organizationally, they have spoken so highly of Chuba Hubbard there. And that's why they gave him the contract. Like they really, really just like him. So yeah, I'm not shocked that it flipped back like this. Definitely worth your priority there. From Flock Nation, Michael Wilson, Pierce, BTJ, Tesla, AD Mitchell, pick 3, please. I would go ahead and play, and it sucks that we don't, we won't have the Marvin Harrison Jr. information probably before the Thursday night game. But I would go ahead and play, assuming that Amon-Ra is out, I would play Tesla. And then it would be Michael Wilson, because also assuming that Marvin Harrison Jr. is out. And then between Pierce, Mitchell, and BTJ, I would go with Pierce. I mean, Pierce gives you upside. The floor is probably about the same as BTJ's is. So yeah, I would just honestly go ahead and go with Tesla, Michael Wilson, and Pierce. And if for some reason, obviously, if for some reason Amon-Ra does play and then Marvin Harrison Jr. does play, then you would have to go with Pierce, BTJ, and Mitchell. But I think in an ideal world, your lineup is going to be Tesla, Wilson, and Pierce. If Amon-Ra doesn't play, it would be Wilson, Pierce, and I do lean towards BTJ over Mitchell. Let's see here. Yeah, we might get the fantasy goodness from Detroit and Dallas. I want that. Can we just please get just like a happy Thursday night game that we can stay up and enjoy, right? Apocalypse picked up Mike Evans, to play keep away, drop Blake Corum or Watson to make room if he comes off IR. Yes, I would. That's tough. You might have to drop Corum, because Watson's production could theoretically stick with, I assume that's Christian Watson. Watson's production could theoretically stick with Jaden Reed back. So we never know, honestly. We truly don't. So yeah, it would be Corum that I would drop. And you have Ibuka, would you consider playing both of them in a playoff matchup? I would, but I will probably be ranking, and again, it depends. Ibuka has come down, unfortunately. We'll have to see how it plays out with Mike Evans and what he looks like. But I think both are potentials for you for sure. P. Weezy says JJ's schedule looks awesome, but I might have to say, yeah, it's a fantastic schedule. And that's what sucks so much about it. Justin Jefferson's rest of season schedule. And why initially I was telling people, and apparently I was misguided. I was telling people, no, we got to keep giving JJ McCarthy a chance. We're all out of chances. But the reason why is because their strength of schedule was it's so good. So it's really just a shame there. Really a shame there that we might not be able to take advantage of it. I was going to pull up. Where is their schedule? What we got here? Washington, Dallas, New York, and then Detroit, which again, super pass friendly, right? These are like, it doesn't get more pass friendly. So you would think that JJ McCarthy would be able to pull it together and do something for us, but nah. Back to the comments here, and then we'll close things out. Barry Wallace, Gainwell or Tesla. Ooh, when and I'm in. If I have enough faith in Dan Campbell that if Amon-Ra is out, I would go ahead and roll out Tesla there. Yeah, but if Amon-Ra is in, you're not risking that. You're going with Gainwell for sure. From Eric Angel, start Jaden Daniels over Bo Nix if Daniel plays. No, even if he plays, I'm skeptical that they might be like, I don't think he's going to play, but even if he did play, right, I would be a little bit skeptical that they would try to limit him on the ground, and that would make me just a little bit concerned with him. So I might just go ahead and default to Bo Nix there. Let's see. Corum is like Charbonnet, stealing touchdowns from the number one. Not as frequently as Charbonnet. Charbonnet's is a lock. Like, they're getting in the red zone. They're saying goodbye, Kenneth Walker. So sorry, Zach Charbonnet, you're coming in. But Corum's is more drive situational. What McVay does is McVay is not pulling out at the goal line. Corum is, or Kyron gets touchdowns. So it's not like he's good. He's not in the situation, like Walker is in a destitute situation. But Kyron still gets plenty of touchdowns, right? The only game where he hasn't had a touchdown over the past 4 games was against Tampa Bay. But Sean McVay, the way that he operates is that I don't know if it's that he's being fair or if he just likes consistency, but if you're in on the drive, if like Blake Corum is in on the drive and he carries you down to the goal line, he is going to allow you to get the goal line touch, right? So that's what happens there with him, which is fine. From a fantasy perspective, it's not super fun, but from a coaching perspective, I don't mind it because it is at least predictable. From Han, start Brissett over Lawrence. Yes. From Broward, Bravado, Chris Rodriguez or Shakir in PPR. Depends on what you need. If you need a stable 10 fantasy points, you're the favorite. You don't need to take a risky play there. Do Rodriguez. But if you need the higher upside play, the one that's going to get you the most bang for your buck is 100% Khalil Shakir on that one. 100%. Jaden Higgins or Troy Franklin. I still lean towards Troy Franklin on that one. Thank you, OG Supreme. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Flock Nation, as well. You guys are awesome. From Tri Lambs. Who has more upside, Rodriguez or Monangai? Yeah, I would still go with Monangai on that one. Yeah, especially from an upside perspective, for sure. Rodriguez offers a very safe floor, but upside, definitely lean in the other direction. From CS Mitt Jr., Tesla or Franklin. If Amon-Ra is out, Tesla on that one. From Logan Schmidt, need 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. McLaurin, JMO. Ooh, McLaurin, JMO, Sutton, Flowers, Harvey, DeAndre Swift. Oh. Well, I do want to play both the running backs. So I will start your running back as RJ Harvey and your flex as, your flex is DeAndre Swift. And then at wide receiver, I'm going with Terry and JMO on that one. Mm-hmm. Good options. Oh, and full PPR. Yeah, even in full PPR, excuse me, in full PPR, I still lean towards putting Swift in the flex spot. It's close between him and Sutton, though. Close between him and Sutton. I might take that risk on Sutton, but again, it is a risk. Depends on how risk tolerant you want to be on that one. From Alpocalypse, have Tyler Warren, but that week 16 looks mighty nice for Waller. Will I be bold enough to rank it that way? I don't know. Would I advise starting Waller over Warren in that matchup? Yes, I would. If he is active and healthy, it's really tough to sit Waller against Cincinnati. Warren, love him to death, right? But yeah. Yeah, Super Run known says, he's not, that's Jaden Daniels. He's not cleared for contact yet. Yeah. From John Doe, thoughts on Troy Franklin. I'm not bailing out on him. I still like him a good bit there, but it's tough to deny the fact that Bo Nix has been highly inconsistent. We've had good times with Troy Franklin. Am I panicking and just saying, okay, he's a sit, a drop or anything like that just because Cortland Sutton had one good game? No, but it's something to keep our eye on. He's more so in the flex range and out of that where he had been ranked as, a low end wide receiver 2, high end flex option, more of like a mid-tier flex option now. From Joseph, David, PPR flex, Devin Neal or Tesla. I would go ahead and risk it with Tesla over. Again, that's contingent on Amon-Ra being out. If Amon-Ra plays, I would not start Tesla in any capacity there. And thank you for the super chat here from PW Heasy. Says good luck to everyone. Oh, and thank you for the advice this season. Thank you. I appreciate that. And good luck to everyone as well. 100%. From Mr. Fantasy, who's a good running back on waiver? Yeah, it's, the safest option. I'm like shaking the table here. So sorry, it's been like a shaky camera experience for you guys. Good safe option is going to be Chris Rodriguez. If you need somebody who you can plug in for a good 10 fantasy points, he's the lead back. He gets the touchdowns. There's no receiving upside. So that sucks from a PPR perspective. You don't get that ceiling. It's just going to be like 10 fantasy points, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 if we're blessed. But if you are looking for more of a stash, definitely go with one of the handcuffs there. So again, go grab your Brian Robinsons, if Tyler Algier is out there, grab one of the high-end handcuffs and just go ahead and stash there. This is a really good question here from John Doe. Is Franklin still playable with Pat Bryant's increased usage? It is getting messy there. And it's kind of going on the radar, under the radar there, because fantasy-wise, Bryant is not popping. Like I was waiting on him to just have just one big play so I could justify putting him in the waiver wire list this week, but it didn't happen there. I was watching it to the end. I'm like, come on, man. Can you do that so I can put you in and not some other subpar asset there? But it's one to watch though. It's messy. They're 3 deep there very well. And you see exactly why they traded away Devon Vele. They liked Pat Bryant a lot and he is very good. So I'm not shocked at this at all. And that's what means then, and that's why when we're getting start sits around Cortland Sutton, I'm like, just still be a little careful there because they spread it around a lot and all of them are very talented. From Jake, T or Devontae Smith rest of season. If T is active this week, we got to monitor it. That head hit was hard, man. His head bounced off the back of that ground very aggressively. So I do worry that it could be a multi-week absence from the concussion, but all things equal, there's no injury. T for sure there. Oh, thank you, Barry Wallace. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then from Roche, start McLaurin, Shakir, or Pittman Jr. I have Pittman ranked the highest there. But the gap between Pittman and Terry McLaurin is extremely small. The matchup against Jacksonville is just kind of their defense is pulling it together. They're very talented. There's a lot of talent on there, very well-rounded, no massive gaps anywhere. So they can play up. So that is slightly concerning regarding Pittman, but especially with the way that Daniel Jones is struggling with the injury there. But I have Pittman a tad bit higher than McLaurin, just tiny bit. Let's see here. We'll do a few more questions and then I got to close out here. Jake Kubert, Franklin or Pierce? Presidents, not wide receivers. Let's see. I believe I have. You know what? Let me actually not lie. Because I don't think either one of them was in the top 24. So I can't remember which one I have ranked higher. I have Franklin ranked higher. Again, it's a good matchup against Vegas. And aside from last week's performance, we have had, I mean, it's been, prior to that, against Kansas City, Franklin had 10 fantasy points. Last time he played Vegas, okay, there's a good comp for us. They played Vegas in week 10, and he had 13 fantasy points. So, I mean, Pierce, it's tough to sit Pierce, but he can be a little boom bust there. So I do lean towards Franklin on that one. And Flock Nation reminding to hit the like button. That does help me out. The likes do help, and the subscribes do help. I appreciate you all. Bad sport. Ferguson in the Dome or Waller. I still have Ferguson slightly higher. Waller is top 12 for me. I think top 10 this week, but I still have Ferguson slightly higher, just like a tiny, tiny bit. I do. Again, I've got high hopes for this game. I'm pumped. I know you guys are too. I'm like, this could be an epic Thursday night game. I'm counting on them to come through for us. Like, please give us something. Give us something epic here. Give us something. Give it something for the people. Fighting solves everything. Fighting solves everything. I like your username. That's hilarious. Jaden Higgins or Michael Wilson. Yeah, Michael Wilson on this one. I could, if Marvin Harrison Jr. plays, I could make the argument, especially given the matchup towards Jaden Higgins, but I don't think he's going to play. So yeah. Michael Wilson on that one. And thank you, Jake. Appreciate that. From Tri Lambs, do you trust Marvin Harrison Jr. and T-Mac for the playoff stretch? I do. Yeah. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s is an injury, lack of trust again, just because of the fact that, again, and we should know, Arizona is not forthcoming. They have been, honestly, they're going on my list. Like Jonathan Gannon is going right above. He's going above a lot of coaches in terms of coaches that are on my list of people who I just straight up don't trust. He's riding up there. He's getting up there. Next thing you know, he'll be over Kyle Shanahan for me, 100%. And he might make his way up there next to Arthur Smith, quite frankly. But it's an injury issue. If he's healthy, I do trust Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of season on that one. But if not, if injury issue, then I've got some concerns there. But Jacoby Brissett's volume has been so strong that I do trust it. And then T-Mac, I do trust rest of season. I do. The touchdowns have been coming through. Love Bryce Young. From Broward, Franklin or Debo PPR championship game. So are we looking ahead to week 17 is what we're doing. Well, Debo on that one. We could theoretically get Jaden Daniels. In theory, we were like, why would Jaden Daniels come back? But, by that time we could get him back there. And regardless, Mariota is turning things around. So I lean towards Debo on that one. I think we can supply the volume. Oh, for now. Okay. This week I still have Debo higher. Don't hate the matchup against Minnesota. From Tyler Sperry, Strange or Gadsden if Jaden, and then if Jaden is cleared, Jaden or Herbert. Woof, that's a rough one. So for sure we're going Strange over Gadsden. I'm trusting it. I've got him ranked higher. Gadsden, unfortunately, we've got the question mark with Justin Herbert. It's just an issue. I don't have confidence that Daniels is going to play this week, unfortunately. You're probably stuck with Herbert, and in that case, you might need to make the contingency plan there. But if you want to wait, just make sure that you have a spot available, and then maybe you add Trey Lance last minute because he's not the worst streaming option in the world. But you might have to make some contingency plans there. I hate that it's a Monday night game for you. Let's see here. And Rosh, should I wait and see if Kincaid plays this week or pick up Strange? Go ahead and pick up Strange. I would rather play Strange than Kincaid. The only thing that I talked about was the issue of, again, when he came back from an injury earlier, he was limited. So I don't know if I trust Buffalo 100% on that one. So go ahead and pick up Strange and just roll with him for sure. And then when we're here from Burkham, start one if T and Amon-Ra St. Brown sit. Yoshivas, Higgins, Tesla. Ooh, that sucks because you won't be able to. You might have to go ahead and start Tesla. Yeah, ideally, I would like to wait to see if Higgins is going to be active there. maybe we'll get some kind of, details tomorrow that'll really do it there for us. But yeah, you might have to go ahead and start Yoshibas on that one if we don't get the information. And then super chat here from Juan. Oh, this is a good one. And this is interesting. So Tesla or Tesla. Let me say it right. Tesla or Michael Wilson on that one. I might go ahead and take the risk there just because Michael Wilson's upside with Marvin Harrison Jr. out has been stupid high. I will take the risk there and wait and see it out if Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to play or not. And I would play Michael Wilson over Tesla. Maybe we get something tomorrow, but we'll see. And then Razzle, DJ Moore or Troy Franklin, I would risk it with DJ Moore. Given the matchup, it could work for him. And then final question here, Terry Sperry. I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go. Sorry. But yes, I do kickers and I will show it. Can I pull it up real quick here? Let's pull it up super quick. Oh man, I'm gonna have to remove something and then add it in. Someone said, does Tesla drive a Tesla? I would hope on that one. Let me pull up kicker rankings here and boom, there we go. Yeah, kicker rankings this week. And I don't think I have anything that's really off tilt here, but we've got, I'm gonna have to read this off to the side. Jason Myers, Brandon Aubrey, Kaimi Fairbairn, Tyler Loop, Jake Bates, Evan McPherson. I like McPherson a lot this week. I think I could move him up even a little bit more. I do think this might be a really good week for him. Will Lutz, Chris Boswell, Cameron Dicker, Cam Little, Harrison Mivis, Chase McLaughlin, Riley Patterson, Matt Prater, Harrison Butker. Oh, I didn't update it. Sorry. I meant to update and remove Michael Badgley. He is no longer, he should not be on there. Just ignore that. Michael Badgley should not be in there. I did not remove him before I downloaded the graphic. My bad on that one. But Brandon McManus, Cairo Santos, skip over Michael Badgley, to Nick Folk, Will Reichard, Jake Elliott, Chad Ryland, and then Zane Gonzalez to wrap things up there. Yeah, Aubrey or Fairbairn. It's close, man. I'm given the default there to Brandon Aubrey. My gut wanted to have Fairbairn over him, but given the fact that I do think that we will see a lot of volume in this Dallas-Detroit game, I am giving the lean towards Aubrey by just a smidge there over Fairbairn, like just a tiny, tiny bit there. Yeah, and what was that? From Hoagie, yeah, Bengals kicker has been putting up crazy numbers. I think he's back. Like we had a rough stretch there, and I think he's back on track there to back where, because we thought that like Evan McPherson was going to be the next, like the biggest thing ever. And then he just kind of, like underwhelmed a little bit there, but that was not his fault. Honestly, I think that with Joe Burrow back, he's bouncing back very well here. So honestly, I would not be shocked if McPherson significantly jumps up rankings. And then fighting solves everything. Do we feel Benson is done? I do kind of feel that way, unfortunately. And again, it's speculation and I hate it as well. Just because I wish we could get more details from Arizona. But Bam is someone that needs to be rostered rest of season. I don't trust anything going on with Benson right now. And Bam has been so solid. Amari DiMercado is dealing with a high ankle sprain. We know those are usually 4 weeks. Like it's always like, and it's been 2 weeks. We should be multi-weeks here without him. That's pretty standard. So, yeah, Bam Knight does need to be rostered for sure. Couple more here, and then I got to head out. Robbie from Robbie, Stroud or Taylor. Yeah, Tyrod has been. I showed the rankings earlier. I have Tyrod higher, or Tyrod. My bad. I should pronounce the jokes about the Mariota thing during the I get it. We need to say people's names right. Tyrod Taylor is a really good streaming option this week. I like him over Stroud given the matchup for sure. And then thoughts on Xavier Smith versus Gadsden versus Parkinson. I think I like Parkinson a lot, but last week I was shocked. I was like, okay, I played him a lot in DFS. I thought it was going to be a solid. He had been so good several weeks in a row, and then he put up a dud. So I think I lean towards Gadsden on that one. And then from the Neganist, if that's a Walking Dead reference, Walking Dead is one of my favorite TV shows of ever. So when I'm in Mahomes or Hurts, and then running backs Chase Hart. So I would go Hurts over Mahomes for sure. I feel good about that one. The matchup concerns me for Mahomes. And then between running backs Chase, Harvey, Chase Brown, Harvey, Judkins. Well, I love them all. If you're the way that I have them, I'll just tell you the way that I have them ranked. I have Chase Brown is my RB6, Judkins is RB12, and Harvey is RB13. And then flex Nico or Justin Jefferson. Nico for sure. Nico 100%. That's it. Haha, it is a Walking Dead reference. I love that show with all of my spirit. I've watched the only thing that I have not, I'm in the middle of, I got distracted and I didn't finish the second season of, or is this the third season? This is the third season of Daryl, whichever season it is on, but I'm in the middle of it and I have not finished the Little Spain season. I'm obsessed with The Walking Dead and I love Negan. So that is one of random facts about me. I love zombie shows. They're my favorite. Jose Rodriguez, Michael Wilson, Godwin, Mitchell, or Tesla, pick 2. Again, it's just really simple. If we have Marvin Harrison Jr. out, it would be Marvin Harrison Jr. And then I would go Godwin. As well. All right, but that wraps things up, people. I appreciate you all joining in. Oh, we had one more super chat here. Sorry, I'm so sorry that I missed this one. No, I didn't. No, I think I got it. Juwan, Tesla, or Michael Wilson. Yeah, you're right. I did. I said I'm willing to risk it with Michael Wilson. But that wraps things up, people. I appreciate you all joining in. Chat was amazing. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you supporting the show week after week. And I love seeing your faces every single week here. So I'm live every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST. And as a reminder, as I always forget to put my banner back up here, this is the Dear Miss Fantasy podcast. It's available on all podcast platforms. So if you would like to subscribe and support, that would be awesome. It is through Player Profiler as well. So if you can support them, that's great. And then, of course, as always, feel free to follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff for me on my YouTube channel and across all social media platforms. That is the boilerplate for me, for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments on any of my videos and I can get to them. Otherwise, I will see you here all next week, and I will see you also in my videos in the comments as well. Appreciate you all tuning in. I will talk to you all later. Have a fantastic week. Good luck. I hope you all make the fantasy playoffs, and I hope to see you here next week. Talk to you later, guys.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.